Hi, and thank you for joining me back in Grains in Small Places. And today we're going to be making kolaches two ways, sweet and savory. I love making dough for several purposes. In this case, I'm making one dough for two purposes, and we're going to do a sweet and a savory. If you have been to Buc-ee's before, chances are you've stumbled across these delicious little gems of delight. Also, there's this little hole-in-the-wall place that's like a gas station and bakery all together in Ellinger, Texas, and it's called Hrushka's. They are a place to stop to. Delicious. So let's get started on our kolaches. Okay, to start with the dough, you're actually going to heat up, I use the microwave, you can use your stove, whatever you want to use, but you're going to heat up 3/4 cup of milk, and you're going to heat up a stick of butter, and you're going to heat it to about 110 degrees. So let me get that started. 3/4 cup of that. I'm going to use a stick of butter. I'm going to cut that up so that it melts quicker. I'm just going to plop that right in to the milk. Like that, and then I'm going to microwave it probably a minute. After about a minute, it's still not melted. There's still hard parts of the butter in here. Just going to give it a little stir and put it back in for about 30 more seconds. Okay, it's all melted now. Just gonna stir that around. Maybe a little hotter than the 110. I'm gonna check it. Yeah, we're a little warmer than 110. It got to 160, so that might be a little long in the microwave, but that's fine. I'm just gonna let it sit here for a little bit as it cools down. And then we're going to continue on with getting started on the dough. Okay, to get started with the dough part of the kolaches, I'm gonna have Matt mill me 2.5 cups of hard white wheat flour.
Me?
Yeah, you! Okay, so the flour he milled will probably give me about 3.5 to 4 cups. So we're going to start with 1/3 cup of sugar. Right in there. A teaspoon of salt. And the milk and butter mixture that we made earlier has cooled down a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. I'm going to start out with 3 cups of the flour. I'm going to start to let that get all incorporated, and then I'm going to add my 2 eggs. This is a recipe I've actually adapted. I've combined about 3 different recipes to make the perfect kolache recipe for our family. So I will try to type out the recipe and put it in the description below for you if you're interested in it. You can make several different flavors. So you can go savory or you can go sweet. You can use cream cheese, you can use jellies, jams, fresh fruits, any meats and cheeses. I'll show you when we get to the filling part what we're going to use today. It's all getting incorporated. I'm going to now add my 2 eggs. I'm going to add my eggs one at a time. Okay, I've added my 2nd egg. I'm going to let that mix and get all incorporated. And then I'm going to add about 2.25 teaspoons of yeast, which is about one of the packets of yeast if you buy the packets. I usually buy the big bulk freeze-dried packages at Sam's Club of yeast because I use so much of it. I'm going to go ahead and add in the yeast. Okay, while the yeast gets all incorporated, I probably am going to add more flour to it. I just like to see where it's at when I add that in. It's a very wet and sticky dough anyway, but this definitely is going to need some more. I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of flour. I really like to show you the process of what happens with the dough as you add in flour, because adding too little flour can be a mistake, adding too much flour can be a mistake. So after that 1/2 cup of flour, you can see it's starting to ball up. I've now put about 3.5 cups of the fresh milled flour in. I'm going to go ahead and increase the speed to 2 on my mixer. Okay, as that mixes and kneads, I'm going to just keep an eye on it. It may need a little bit more flour, it may not. I'm just going to let it go for a little while. Okay, so it's been kneading for about 3 or 4 minutes. This is what it's looking like. I actually think I'm going to go ahead and put in just like 1 tablespoon of flour. I don't know, probably like that much. It might be 2 tablespoons. I hope that wasn't a mistake. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and push this off the kneading paddle, and I just want to feel it with my hands. So this is where I'm at. The gluten has not developed completely yet, but I'm just, if you can see where I just added the flour, I should have added it a little bit earlier, but it's still a very soft and pillowy dough. So I just want to get the rest of this flour incorporated. So I'm going to let this finish what it started. Okay, so that's definitely plenty of flour. It is continuing to knead. I do have some flour left over, so I'm going to go ahead and feed our sourdough starter. This is Bubbles. We name a lot of our things around here. So he's probably going to get fed with the rest of this later. I'm going to turn it back up to kneading. I had it turned down for when I was trying to incorporate that flour that I added. So I'm going to let that knead. I'll let you know how long it takes. Probably going to be 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, time to be real. I did add too much flour, so I'm going to go ahead and put just a smidge more of the milk in here. And I'm going to mix that in. It does take a while. It looks like it's going to separate and be weird, but if you just continue to mix it around, it can be saved. So I'm going to let that continue to mix. That's looking better. Okay, so it's been kneading for about 15 minutes actually. And this is where we're at. It's still not done. I'm going to let this knead a little bit longer. So one way that I knew that I added too much flour is as my machine was kneading the dough just wanted to stick to the paddle and just kind of go around as opposed to actually knead the dough and look more pliable. It was just very tight, and it was even after I kneaded it for about 5 to 6 minutes, it was still that way. So that's why I decided I want to add a little bit more of the milk into it to make the dough soft and pillowy, how we actually want it to be for our kolaches. Another confession. I used to pronounce these kolaches because I thought that's what they were called until I did a little bit of research and realized that these are kolaches is how they're pronounced. And they're like a Czech pastry. And they're really good. You gotta try them. Okay, so that took a good 20 to 25 minutes for the kneading process for it to form the gluten. So either my wheat is not very strong with the gluten right now. A trick for that is you can add Vital Wheat gluten to it if you want to. Here is my dough. It's still somewhat sticky. It's very pillowy and very soft. So what I'm going to do, it has a lot of stretch to it. What I'm going to do is go ahead and put this back in the bowl, and I'm going to cover it for about an hour to an hour and a half. Okay, so as that is rising, I'm going to use my second bowl and my cookie paddle to make the cream cheese filling. Okay, to start the cream cheese filling, I'm actually going to start with homemade cream cheese that I have. If you would like to know how to make this, let me know in the comments and I might make a video on that. But we use our Fairlife milk so that it could be a lactose-free cream cheese so it doesn't bother any of us. I also can link this little separator below. It has separated the cream cheese from basically the whey. Super handy. And then it has a tight lid. I could just store it right in the fridge like that. So I'm going to take the cream cheese part of this. It's going to end up being about 8 ounces of cream cheese. And I started with a quart of milk. And I made it in my Instant Pot. I'm just going to, if you see the consistency of that, just going to scrape all of that out. You actually can make this cream cheese at the same time as you make yogurt in your Instant Pot. So a lot of times I like to make my cream cheese along with my vanilla yogurt and my plain yogurt all in one cooking with my Instant Pot, so that I have all 3 of them, because it takes 8 hours to make, and then it also has to chill in a refrigerator. So if I wanted to make all 3 of those things separately, it would take a lot longer. So to make them all at once is great. I think I'm gonna make a video about making 2 different yogurts at once, so watch out for that. Okay, so I'm done with this. I have about 8 ounces of cream cheese. Then I'm gonna take a 1/4 cup of sugar. And I make my own vanilla. I believe I mentioned that before, but I'm going to use about a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And it's going to be a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And I use the Ceylon cinnamon, which is, I don't know if you can see that. The Ceylon cinnamon, which is supposed to be the cinnamon that gives you the health benefits. I can link that below if you want. I had a hard time finding it, so I'll link it for you if you'd like to find it. And then it's going to be a teaspoon of lemon juice. So I'm going to use 1/2 lemon, probably not quite. Somehow I managed to not get a seed in here, which is a first. Going to be a pinch of salt and 1 egg yolk, which I did break it when I was separating it, but that's okay. It's going to get all mixed in there anyway. Okay, and the last ingredient is going to be fresh nutmeg. You can use powdered if you want. Just about 1/8 teaspoon. I just grate it right in there like this. It's the easiest. Okay, and then I'm going to put the paddle in. And I'm going to start off low. There it is, mixing everything all together. And I'm going to turn up the speed. I'm going to let this mix for about 4 minutes probably. So the cream cheese that I was using, I forgot to mention, is also a cultured cream cheese. So it is good for your digestive system also. Okay, I'm going to scrape my sides down with my Christmas spatula. It's my favorite one, even though it's July. I'm going to show you that so it wasn't all mixed together. This filling is really good. Like I want to eat it right now. But I won't. It smells so good. It smells like cheesecake. Okay, that looks all incorporated. Mixed together nicely. That's what it looks like. So, this can now go in the refrigerator for up to 3 days, so you can make it ahead of time if you want to. I just like making it while I'm waiting for the dough to rise. I'm going to put my mixer away out of the way. Okay, so to make the Streusel topping, which is like those little bits on the top, they're really good too. You don't have to do this part, but it just brings them over the top and makes them more authentic. So, I'm going to take a tablespoon of butter. I'm going to put it in the same container that we heated the butter and the milk up for the dough earlier today. I'm going to heat that in the microwave. I'm going to heat it until it's melted, and then I'm going to mix in the sugar and the flour and mix it around, and it's going to make like a paste. And then I'm going to let it cool throughout the time that my dough is rising, so that when it's ready to put on, I'll use a fork and I'll crumble it up to make little bits all throughout, and they're very good. Okay, so my butter is melted. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of flour, which I still have some of that we milled earlier. And we still have enough left to feed Bubbles. I'm gonna get a pinch of salt. I'm gonna stir that around. And again, I'll put the recipe down in the description so that you don't have to try to write down everything and catch the stuff that I'm saying. Sometimes I can talk fast. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so all of my components are ready. So now I'm just waiting for the dough to finish rising, and then I'll show you how we assemble them. The cream cheese filling mix and the streusel is all for the sweet one. The savory one isn't going to have any of these components. So if you want to make all savory, then you can skip the middle steps and just do the dough and then the filling part. Okay, for this next part, I'm going to have to put my hair up. It's been a little over an hour. You can see my dough has doubled. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on the table here. Instead of flour, I don't really want to add any extra flour to it. And I'm going to just punch the dough down. And I'm going to spread this on my table here. I'm going to try to cut this in 20 pieces. You can weigh it if you want. I probably should, but I'm not going to.
You're honest.
I am honest. Okay, so these are a little bit smaller, so I'm probably going to steal some from some of these bigger ones. This one. Okay, so to do the savory ones, I'm going to fill those first before the first rise. To do the sweet ones, I'm actually going to do those after the first rise. They'll get their filling, so I'll show you. For dinner, we're going to do ham, pepperoni, and cheese. We're in Minnesota right now. We were in Wisconsin last week, so we had to take advantage of some of the delicious Wisconsin fresh cheese. So for the filled ones, I'm going to just smash them all the way flat. We're going to do ham and Colby Jack, and then I'm just going to wrap this up and seal the sides. So just make sure that you seal all the sides really well. You'll probably have some cheese explosion. I usually do, but that's okay. I'm sure there's nicer, neater ways of doing this, but this is real life. So you'll see later on that the savory and sweet ones look very different from each other, because the sweet ones are going to have the filling shown on, you'll see it from the top, whereas the savory ones you will not. I'm just trying to pinch all the seams closed. Okay, so I've made 4 just ham, and I'm going to make some pepperoni ham with mozzarella. Okay, that's it for the savory. So now I'm going to start showing you how to do the sweet. You're going to take the sweet and you're going to kind of stretch them into a ball. And then you're going to just kind of roll those around. Make cute little balls. When you're shaping the balls, you can kind of just push up in the center and pull like you're kind of pushing through your hands to make the top taut. They're starting to dry out a little bit on me. I guess I could have covered these with saran wrap, but I'm just going to try to quickly get them finished. I'm going to have Matt cover these with saran wrap. I'm going to have him put these in the proofer. Our oven that we have actually has a proofing feature, so I'm going to do that so that they will be ready in about 30 to 40 minutes. Again, just spacing them out nicely. I'm going to have him cover this tray as well, so that we can put those also in the proofer. Okay, so these are going to proof for about 30 to 40 minutes. Once they're done proofing, I'm going to make a simple egg wash with a little splash of milk and an egg. And I'm going to brush the top of the kolaches with the egg wash before I bake them. We like to sprinkle sesame seeds on the top of ours. For the sweet ones, I'm going to use, I found a 1/4 cup measuring cup works really well, and I'm going to just use these to press down so I can make little wells for the filling to go inside. And I sometimes just need to push it to make it a little bit deeper with my fingers. Then I'm going to apply the same egg wash all over the dough, making sure to get the outsides and the insides and all the crevices. And now for the delicious cream cheese filling. I'm just going to fill the little cups with the cream cheese mixture that we made earlier. And then I'm going to make a separate little well for the jam to go inside. And we are using apricot jam. We really like apricot jam, but we can't always find it. So if you can find apricot preserves or jam, that is a really good flavor, but you can use any jam that you want. I have made my own cinnamon apples to put on top. I have made raspberry jam, strawberry jam, all different kinds. You can make them homemade. You can just buy a jar if you want to make it quick. And now I'm going to put the crumble we made earlier. I'm going to use the fork to break it all up to make it into little bits, and we will sprinkle it on the top of each one. Oh, we have leftovers. Let me think what we can do with that. Okay, so these ones only took about 18 minutes, but they look so good. I had some cheese spillage, but yum. I can hear them sizzling. I'm going to go ahead and put the next ones in. And I'm going to let those go. I'm going to put them in for the 20 minutes, but I may pull those out early as well. I'm just going to keep an eye on them. So you saw I had a whole bunch of the cheesecake cream cheese mixture left over. That's because I forgot that recipe for making the cheesecake mixture is actually for when you make all the dessert ones. I forgot to half it, but that's okay because now we get a bonus recipe. So I'm actually going to make little cheesecake bites. So we're going to get dinner, breakfast, and dessert all from this one recipe. I melted some butter. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of brown sugar. I have some ginger snap cookies. I'm going to just crunch those up to make like the crust Probably could do this in a blender or a food processor. If you have any anger or frustration, this is a great job for that. Matt! What? Come crunch this up for me. Crunch this up better. While I put the liners in, he's going to crunch those up. I'm expecting to only get maybe 8 or so out of this, not a full tray. This is my meat masher that I use all the time for when I'm making meat or crumbling up anything. Okay, is that good? Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to just press some down at the bottom. Just going to try and even them out so they all have about the same amount. So these are going to be little cheesecake bites, but they are going to be lactose free because remember I made them with that homemade cream cheese that we made from the lactose free milk. I'm going to put that mixture. I don't know exactly how much I'm going to have to each one, so I'm just going to put about a tablespoon in each one, and then we'll see from there. I'm just going to smooth those out, and I'm going to use a little bit of the crumble. After they're done baking, I'm going to top them. I think I have some fresh raspberries, so I'm going to top them with the raspberry. You could top it with the leftover jam that you used, but I mean, this will just give us a whole different flavor. And I'm going to put those in the oven for probably about 350, and I'm going to keep my eye on them when they start to just look a little bit browned at the top. I'm going to guess maybe 15 minutes or so. I'll let you know. Okay. These are done. Now I'm going to take my oven and take it down to 350 to do the cheesecake bites. These are going in.
We like to finish them off with a dusting of powdered sugar.
Look at this cute little spoon thing that we found at an Amish store. Show them. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough.
It's disappearing.
That's enough. So I'm going to pull them out, and then I'm actually let it set a little bit, and then I'm going to put fresh raspberries on. But during that baking, this is how much I have left of these. Don't mind the dirty dishes. And that's all I have left of these.
I'm gonna put the raspberries on.
Okay, so we're gonna put the cheesecake bites in the refrigerator overnight, and we'll have those tomorrow. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with me. I hope you'll give us a like and subscribe so that you can see what content we will be putting out next. Thank you for joining us with Grains in Small Places. Goodbye.